Welcome back to DiceTillDawn, and I'm alone again and finishing finally my lists, and this is my last list of the solitaire top 30 and it's way to 2017 already, but let's get this over with and hopefully this won't be an hour long. Sorry for that, but hope you liked my top 100 even though it ran long, but next time I'll know better. Let's start with one honorable mention. I just have to mention, I made the list back in like October, so there are games I played after it, and there are other games that might creep up on the list. I may redo the list this year or next year or something like that, and I might even pump it up to like top 50 in a year or two, because there are even more solo games I'm finding. But the one I have to honorable mention is actually Shadowrun Crossfire. I loved this game for a long time and I've had it, but I didn't play it solo until December last year, and the reason was because usually I don't like playing multiple characters in games like this, just like Legendary Alien, stuff like that, but I finally tried it because I really wanted to play the game and there was no one to play with, and I noticed that I really like it even solo. And even one of the scenarios you can play as a one runner only, but I haven't really tried that with one runner because I want to level up two guys. But it's a brilliant tactical game. You really have to like plan your moves, and it's one of the most, maybe even the most difficult game I own as a co-op game, but it's a blast. It feels like a luck of the draw, but once you play it more you find that you can actually up your winning chances quite a bit. I love the game, Shadowrun Crossfire. My honorable mention I just had to mention because I played like 30 solo games in December. Okay, but now let's go on to the list, and my number 10 is Space Hulk Death Angel, the card game. This cool little box has, I think, all the expansions, or maybe I'm missing one of the expansions. They still fit in the box, and this is a also extremely hard co-op game where you are just playing this team of Space Marines, sorry, and trying to solve these like 3 layers of like places you go through, and they try to manage the aliens that are popping up everywhere and gene stealers, and just survive until the end. And there are different objectives, different rooms, different things that can happen, events, and basically you have 3 actions for each of these groups, and you can only do you can't do the same in consecutive turns. So if you attack with the red team, for example, you can't attack with the red team next turn, so you really have to balance. If you attack with all of them in one turn, if there's a bad spawn, you can't attack next turn, so you will be in trouble. And all these things make for an excellent solo game. It works from 1 to 6 players. I played it with 2 and 1, and I did like both of them, and maybe would actually like to try it with even more players. But somehow, again, the same problem usually that I have is that I have to play 3 teams in this solo, but the actions are so simple because you don't get any more like abilities or cards. It's just the 3 cards for each of the teams, and you have to pick one of them to do every turn. So it's from this small like choice, there's a lot of depth in the choice, and as Crossfire I think you can actually get a lot better by doing clever moves. Of course there's luck of the draw and everything, but that's also a plus in a solo game, because then there's replayability and you can't game the system as much. And a great game, small box, takes not much of the table space, so easy to take with you wherever you want to go, and just love the game, and also works with more players, so that's a plus. But my number 10 was Space Hulk Death Angel. Number 9 is actually, I think, newest game on the list pretty much, and that's Terraforming Mars. And I played like 5 solo games so far. I think I only won one of them, but did get a pretty good score, and it's been a while since I last played, a month or 2 ago, but the games I played, I learned more and more about the game, and I really enjoy that even winning the game in your first games when you are just learning the game is actually hard, and then you can actually try to get a better high score with the different corporations. And you can there's even a thread on Board Game Geek where people are posting their solo scores and you can compare them. And my score was 2 points lower than the guy that had posted his score, so close but not. And anyway, clever card play, reminds sometimes like a bit of Race for the Galaxy or stuff like that, where you are finding these cards to combo off each other, and there's still the map you are doing things on, and like all cool things. I just really enjoy the solo aspect of the game, although I would like to try it with more players. I've only played one 2-player game with and the solo games, but the solo I'm liking more than I actually thought I would, and that's why it's number 9, Terraforming Mars. Okay, number 8 is again a newcomer to the list, and that is Mansions of Madness, the 2nd edition. Just played this last week with Valtteri after we were recording, and December we played 2 scenarios. My friend actually bought me the downloadable content scenario, and we played through that and another scenario, and all these things, and the app makes it a perfect solo. And of course I think there are some balancing issues with 1 or 2 investigators, even though I know the app does take these into effect, but it at least feels to me like in some scenarios it's too hard to actually cover all the ground you need with 1 or 2 characters. Of course that might just be me and my pack ratting, and I just want to explore every nook and cranny, and that slows me down, but it's still fun to explore the world. I think all the negative things are that it's very expensive, the miniatures are like, at least the bases are totally crap, and the miniatures are okay, they kind of look cool, but they're not high quality at all, and still the game is $100 and there's only 4 scenarios in the base box, and even the expansions are pretty expensive. I think $5 for the downloadable scenario is fine, and I will pay $5 for each of those gladly, but the tile expansions were very expensive also, at least in here they're like 60-70 euros, which is very steep. But anyway, other than that, it's a great experience, great co-op game, works great with more players too, but solo is also very cool, especially the biggest scenario in the base game is like 3 to 4 hours even solo, and there's a lot of deduction and not a lot of combat, and just really enjoy the figuring out of things and really like it. The bad thing in solo, I think, is coming back to my not playing many characters. If you want to play more characters, it actually works kind of nice in this game, except the amount of stuff you get in the game. A certain guy that can have actually like 10 items carrying, so if all of them have like 10 items and their own abilities and all these maybe effects from wounds and insanity, stuff like that, it's very hard to keep track of those things, so that's why multiple characters I don't really recommend, but gladly it works nicely with 1 or 2 characters even solo, so Mansions of Madness is a great game. Okay, number 7, a great small game, Onirim. I played like 70 games of this, I think, or something like that. Also really love it 2-player with my girlfriend, she loves the game also, and it works greatly as a 2-player game. It feels a bit different, and there's a nice cooperation, especially when you don't give perfect information to each other, and I really like the 2-player also, but the solo, it feels like a solo game still at its core. The 2nd edition comes with 7 expansions. I've played with all of them, at least few of them are just brilliant. I usually try just 1 as a solo with 2 of the expansions where there's 4 more doors and you have to do them in certain order. I finally won a game of that, and that was a good feeling, but it's just a cool and clever play where you just get a deck of cards, shuffle it and start playing through the deck and trying to find these doors before you run out of the deck. Sounds simple, it is simple, but there are cool choices and these nightmares that can really put you through the ringers, and just cool and easy and fast, and usually you want to play many games of this in a row. 1 game takes like 20 minutes, 25 minutes maybe at most, even less, 10 to 15 minutes, yeah, when you played it a lot. And just really enjoy the game. That's Onirim. I actually just got Sylveon of the same designer and of the same group, family of games, and one play I really liked it, and we'll see if it lands on the list next year or the year after that. But and also pre-ordered or ordered Castellion and stuff like that, because I really like the series. But okay, number 6 is Infection. Humanity's Last Gasp from Victory Point Games, actually, and this was a surprise for me. Actually, I just found out about it at some point last year, and just found a copy in BGG Marketplace and thought, well, I want to try it. I got it from Germany and played like 10 games in a few days because I really fell in love with the game, although from the videos I thought I would like it. It's basically a puzzle game. There's 2 difficulty levels and you are trying to combat this plague by getting these proteins you put on the table and try to like isolate the main thing that is causing the problems, I guess, like figuring the cure for this plague or kind of like that. And it's cool, has aspects like kind of like you can count your probabilities of drawing these certain proteins from the cup and how many you want to buy per turn, and then using these special abilities you can buy these lab equipment and maybe even upgrade them to do these cool things. You have your assistants that can help you do cool things, and you just have to manage all these things, and you get a certain amount of income depending on how well you are doing or how bad you are doing, and the death toll keeps going up, and uses a die roll, so of course there's luck there, but still pressure. And the harder version of the game comes with this cool puzzle board you can actually flip over, and there's the harder and easier sides, and the harder side is pretty hard. I have won the harder side, and again a great puzzle for me. I really enjoyed Infection, a solo only game that I just love. Infection, Humanity's Last Gasp. Okay, so number 5. That is again to DVG and the Leader series, and my favorite of the bunch, and that's Phantom Leader. Hornet Leader was number 19, and I do like this a bit more, although I haven't played the Hornet Leader Tulhu expansion yet, so that might actually raise the rank. But Phantom Leader I like because it's kind of a cleaner, well, cleaner, but it's like rougher combat where you really have to, the planes aren't so powerful as in Hornet Leader. You really have to go into these dogfighting sessions where you are very close to the enemy and have to risk getting shot many times. And there's the cool thematic aspect of the politic track. Okay, of course, some are complaining that it's random and takes away your chance to score well, and yeah, that can happen, but I don't really play these games for the score. Of course, it's cool aspect that I can try to up my score next time, but usually I play these for the experience and the just puzzle that it gives me every time, and for the experience and the story that the pilots are leveling up. So all these things are just the main part of Phantom Leader or the Leader series for me, and just this is my favorite of the bunch of the Leader series. I'm hopefully getting my B17 Flying Fortress Leader next month, and I'm currently backing Sherman Leader, so we'll see if those make on the list next year or stuff like that. But so far Phantom Leader is just my favorite, not by much, but it is, and a great game. And on to number 4, and I'm cheating. I'm clumping together these two, Mythos Tales and Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. These are basically the same game. I'm not the story or all those things, but it's the same, exact same mechanics basically. There are a few things that are added in Mythos Tales, but pretty much the same. And there's just a cool story experience, basically like a choose your own adventure book, and just do these investigations and make your own notes. I usually do like several pages of notes in a case, and just chill out, have a scotch, maybe sit for like, I usually take 4 hours or stuff like that, sitting on my table and just maybe in a candlelight if I can get the perfect place. And gladly it's always dark here in Finland during winter, so that's easy to manage. So that game is just brilliant. And the Mythos Tales, I just got the Kickstarter edition, and that is just about the same game but has the Thulhu Mythos and has cool things added because of that. I really like them both and I just can't decide which I would like more. And of course I've only played the first scenario of the Mythos Tales, so I'm still a newbie in that one. But all in all, a great experience, great story, great reduction and great fun to just enjoy being immersed in this world. Basically reading a book, I guess, but in an interactive book at that. So if you like these things, it's basically not a game, but if you like these things, go check those out because I really love them. Okay, so number 3, and again to DVG territory, and that's Field Commander Napoleon. This is my favorite of the Commander series by far, and that's just a great game. 11 of Napoleon's campaigns you can play, and you can replay them. They are the basic setup is fixed, but there are so many random things, and what you do impacts the game, so I don't think they feel like you have solved them after one play. And of course you can always try to do some weird fancy things, but all in all, just all the things are cool, the components are top notch, and the battle board, first you move on the big map and then you resolve the battles on this like cool battle map where you are moving your troops in column or line formation and shooting with your cannons, and maybe giving some Napoleon insights to the troops, which are very powerful if you manage to pull them out of, and just all these cool elements come together in this very enticing package for solo play. And I have played through the full campaign like twice or maybe 3 times, but one time I got through to the end, and 2 times I've actually died in like halfway or something like that, because if you lose you are out of the game. Of course you can just keep playing if you want to try the scenarios, there's no, but if you want to count the score like I did, I got through it once and did pretty well, I think. But a great game, has story, feeling, and historic things, and strategy, and tactics, and puzzle, and all these things, and just a perfect experience in a like war situation, I guess. Field Commander Napoleon. Okay, number 2 is a small game I love more and more the more I play it, and that's Friday. And I've played like 70 games of this at least, or stuff like that, and every time I pull it out I usually play like 10 to 15 games in a few days, because I just can't put it down. Each session is like 3-4 games in a row or stuff like that, and I really like it. I only play the highest level now, and it's very hard, but I do want to try to beat my high scores. I think I've scored like 80 points or something like that, can't remember off the top of my head, but the more I play, the more I see that there's even more depth in the game. I can understand you could feel after 1 or 2 games that this is just weird random shit, but it totally isn't. I'm not saying this is a highly strategic game, but you really get better at the game, and I don't think I would lose the easiest level now almost at all. Maybe very unlucky draws or something like that, but the harder levels are very hard, and getting a getter score is cool. Cool deck builder kind of, and thinning your deck is very important, and doing the right decisions at the right moment, and actually getting a hit is actually a good thing, because you can get the worst cards out of your deck and make it better, and all these things are just cool. And the theme is kind of funky and funny, because Friday is trying to like teach Robinson some tricks, because he's just very like stupid in the beginning, and he wants Robinson to leave him alone in the island, so he's teaching him some tricks. So Friday is just a brilliant solo game, and you can play it anywhere and all the time. Okay, so number 1 is the same as my last solo list, and number 2 of my all-time games, and number 1 of my all-time games last year, and that's Mage Knight, the board game. There isn't really a contest, I guess, in content-wise and experience-wise and like all these things, because this game has so much going for it. I have all the expansions, they all fit in the box. Of course that helps, but even the base game has so much replayability. But with the expansions there's like, I don't know how many scenarios, I haven't played even all of them, and even if there was only the one scenario, the game would still have crap tons of replayability. But having all the expansions, there's like, I have 7 characters now I think, or 7 I think, and then scenarios a lot, more tiles, a lot of enemies because of the 2 extra expansions, so you'll never know what's coming. And handmade scenarios like the super epic conquest I talked about in my top 100. It's like a 6-hour slog through with alone, even solo, but that's a brilliant experience where you're just leveling up and taking down all these 4 cities and the Volker's camp, and just cool fun. Again, there's deck building, there's this puzzly thing where each turn is its own puzzle, how you are going to use these cards to its most effect, and all these things are important, because if you use them poorly you will fail, and just feels like all of the things I want in a game pretty much. It's puzzly, it's thematic in a sense at least, and it's cool, and you get more powerful as the game goes by, so there's leveling up, and there's just so many things that I really like in the game, and also it's not, pretty much there's no luck at all almost. Of course there are what enemies come, but usually you can see the enemies before you encounter them, so you can actually, it's pretty much deterministic combat in most times. Of course there are times where you have to attack blindly, but usually so you know when you're going in. Maybe this sounds like boring for some people who are just wanting to die, throw a lot of dice and see who wins, but I really like it because it makes it more puzzly, and when you finally succeed it's down to you, not down to rolling 17 sixes, and I really like that. And still it's very hard to do well, at least when you are learning the game. I played like 50 games of this thing, and each game is long, so go figure. But Mage Knight is an absolute brilliant of a game, and if you like heavier solo games you don't need anything else than Mage Knight for a year or 2. But yeah, that's Mage Knight and my number 1, and finally my list is over, and as I said I might do a top 50 this year or maybe next year, and if I'm still around with this channel. But thanks for watching, and please give me suggestions. Great to hear from you at some points, and some comments from in the channel. Thanks for all those, and you can request things if you want, see from myself or whatever you want. And I'm thinking of doing the reviews a bit differently in the future, but well, we'll see. And thanks again, and Happy New Year, and bye.